Poland southeast Carpathian Mountains is a final frontier that's been subject of both folklore and legend, a place where the country's Slavic heart is throbbing. Welcome to the Bieszczady Mountains, where the air is fresh, the weather is beautiful, and we are going on a tour with the local forest rangers. Considering the significance of forest rangers in Bieszczady, I was grateful to be afforded an opportunity to learn about their work. It was also interesting to hear about the ways they observed the local wildlife. One of the responsibilities of these forest rangers are to maintain good conditions for the wildlife that exists in the area. This is arguably the most untamed region of Poland, so cameras such as this that they discreetly place throughout the forest pick up images of the 200 bears that roam, mountain lions, basically animals that I'd never wish to come face to face with when I'm mushroom picking. When we arrived on the first peak, I was overwhelmed by the grandeur of the views and mesmerized at how the landscapes had been crafted by their history. Beyond the nature here, there is a great long-standing history concealed by the forest itself, by vegetation. See, when this was Galicia, people were using the land as farm plots. Much of what is forest today was then inhabitable land by people who don't live here anymore. And if you look closely to some details, such as the trees that are on this peak, you'll see that beneath them is a foundation of an Orthodox church that once stood overlooking the hill. So it can serve people who are interested in nature, but also archaeology. In the distance, white smoke was bellowing from the trees. The rangers remarked that what we were seeing is the final trace of a dying craft. One interesting industry that used to be a driving force in the region was the preparation of wooden coal. Some consider this to be an art form where you smoke wood to be resold as fuel for grilling food. Now, this is available by factory order today. However, the ones who do it in this homemade style, let's call it, are a dying breed, whereas there used to be hundreds of producers. Today, there only remain a few, and when they die off, the art form will go away.
Procedura taka, że się jeden węgiel wyciąga, drzewo wsadza dwurzędowo. Tak jak tu leży, palenisko się z przodu zakłada. To służy jako rozpałka. Tyle samo, 2 doby się pali, 2 doby stygnie. Na 5. dzień wyciąga węgiel.
The thing is about Zygmunt, he is a local legend. There were plenty of tourists coming up the road to visit him, photograph him, and it's interesting. In Bieszczady, you find those people who are just known for existing. Before parting ways, my new friends took me to one last vantage point. From here, the most important sights of Bieszczady could be enjoyed alone and from afar. Literally in every direction is a wonderful place to visit. The Grand Reservoir of Selina, the Ukrainian Carpathians, Połonina, and the place where the San River meets Selina. This is approximately the point where the San River turns into Selina. It's also an interesting, notable spot because until 1951, post-war, this was the border between the Soviet Union and Poland. The people of this region are passionate about their home, such as a young couple who founded their own private history museum.
Jest to prywatna placówka muzealna. Istnieje od 2013 roku. Jesteśmy wpisani do rejestru, który prowadzi Ministerstwo Kultury. Muzeum ma dość szeroką ekspozycję. Na początku mamy związaną z początkami osadnictwa w Bieszczadach. Mamy też zaakcentowaną wielokulturowość, jaką tutaj była do II wojny światowej. Rzeczy związane z życiem codziennym, z rolnictwem, z przemysłem, z okresem I wojny, II, jak również z okresem PRL-u, czyli tak ogólnie czasem odbudowy Bieszczad. Do II wojny tutaj głównie żyła ludność rusińska, żydowska, polska, niemiecka, czyli takie można powiedzieć dzisiejszym językiem multikulti. I wszyscy między sobą w zgodzie i często dzisiaj podróżując po Bieszczadach możemy trafić na takie ślady, w postaci starych cmentarzy, kapliczek, ruinach podomów czy dworach, więc też jest wiele historii mówiących o tym, jak ludzie między sobą dobrze współżyli tak naprawdę. Na przykład jak nie było w miejscowości kościoła, to często była tylko cerkiew, to ją użyczali katolikom, żeby ci mogli odprawić swoje msze, zanim wybudują własny obiekt. Jak były święta, przychodzili do siebie, nawzajem pomagali, żeby druga grupa mogła spokojnie celebrować, a nie myśleć o tym, że musi na przykład iść jeszcze nakarmić zwierzęta. Ekspozycje, tak jak wspominałam na początku, poświęcone są przemysłowi również, rolnictwu, jak również okresu I wojny, czyli znajdziemy na przykład nieśmiertelniki po żołnierzach, kartki pocztowe, które były dla nich przygotowane. Mamy również przedmioty związane z kopalnictwem, z koleją. No i okres oczywiście PRL-u, czyli z gospodarką leśną. Czyli mamy już stare sikiery, capinie, numeratory. Więc naprawdę staramy się dość szeroko zaakcentować każdy dział, żeby tą historię tej krainy pokazać jak najszerszym spektrum.
When it came time for dinner, I traveled deeper into the region, where I stumbled across another classic. We're dining in the town of Uściki Górne, which is just on the brink of the beautiful national parks filled with backpackers and travelers. Despite the fact that this town only has a population of 150, it is hailed as a favorite for those who like the outdoors. I have chosen some very regional dishes, starting with a soup that was prepared by Bojkowe people. These were a type of Ukrainian Highlander that once inhabited the area. Although they say that it's a poor man's soup, it's actually quite rich and filling with cabbage, potatoes, a little bit of meat. I also have knishe, which are essentially gigantic fried potatoes. And what's most interesting is this chicken roll. Now, it is served with what they call bear garlic. Bear garlic is thought to be a vegetation that bears eat in the early spring to purify their body of toxins. Whether or not that's actually true is a different case, but I can tell you in the times I ate this in the past, my wife didn't want to share the bed with me. Takeaway, and the main reason I think you should come here is the foundation, the conception of this place is based on what it takes to live in Bieszczady. The owners have hung this quote from an old book that they discovered over 20 years ago, outlining what it takes to live here and what types of meals you eat here. They've maintained that tradition to this day, to the point that the restaurant itself has been quoted in other very famous books. The other thing I noticed, the first thing I noticed, is that the band from Uściki Dolne, KSU, was playing pridefully on the radio. So I think it makes sense to head over there and try and track those guys down to see what the legends of Bieszczady have to say about the region in their own words. The band KSU has gone against the grain from day one. Yet in spite of their punk rock antics, they are revered as heroes of Bieszczady. Normally not inclined for interviews, I spent some time with the band's artist and manager at their studio in Uściki Dolne.
Bieszczady, because Siczko, when he was young, he took a little bag with the cheap wine, and they went in Połoniny, in Bieszczady mountains, with the tops is without trees, and the tops is characteristic. They went there to drink a wine. And one of them had cigarettes. They smoke cigarettes, and for the joke, they burned little grass. And one day, full the Połonina start to burn. And they had to run. From this moment, mother of Siczka was so angry at him. She started to speak with him. How you did? You could burn this, that, many animals. You know, it's not... He started to think, and he started to care of Bieszczady. He changed it at the moment because something broke in him. 78, 79. Then Siczka with friends walking by the street after little party, and they speak how to name the band, how to give a name to the band. and some people spoke some things, but Siczka told about KSU, like the car with the registration who went in the darkness. Some of lyric is about Bieszczady mountains. Hard ground, but beautiful one. Hard for the people, it's bad for the people. It's grow nothing, no. The ground is completely not fertilized, but it's very beautiful for the eyes, for the soul.
The thing I genuinely loved about my visit to Bieszczady was that the people I came across embraced a notion of live and let live, following a lifestyle unencumbered by commercial pressures. In my opinion, that says a lot in this day and age. In conclusion, we find ourselves in Poland's final village, the end of the road as far as most would be concerned. However, I'd challenge you to come here and see what other treasures Bieszczady has to offer. And until you do, I'm Ryan Socash for Poland In.